behind every thesis is a story of questions, pressure, persistence, and discovery. Welcome to Behind the Thesis with Yvonne Shabangu, where we unpack the real story behind research and thesis writing. From late-night writing sessions and supervisor feedback to breakthrough moments and academic wins. This podcast is all about the journey behind the pages. If you are a student, researcher, or academic trying to make sense of the thesis process, you are in the right place. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. You are welcome to another episode of Behind the Thesis. I see the love, but I'm crashing out, guys, because why are you guys showing the love on TikTok and not coming to YouTube? Why? Or how do you guys think this is going to happen? How do you think season 2 is going to come? So you must make sure that you're moving from TikTok short clips into YouTube long clips, as well as Spotify and other podcast platforms. So today, like, you guys have been judging me for bringing you J people only, but you see, I'm bringing UP. UP is taking over my platform. I don't know why. So today we're seated with Martin Mushomba. He studied at the University of Pretoria, completing his bachelor's degree in chemistry, with electives being biochemistry and microbiology. And then he did his honors degree and master's degree, both in medicinal plant sciences, also at the University of Pretoria. Martin, welcome. Thank you for honoring my invite. Just shortly introduce yourself and maybe shortly tell us about your research.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you for having me, Yvonne. So I think you've covered most of it. I'm a very simple individual. So yes, I started at UP. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about years. We don't talk about when we started. I started.
And you finished.
And
That's
I finished.
what's important.
Exactly. I finished. Yes. So I started with chemistry because I was interested in learning, general learning. So I figured that chemistry, also called the central science. Back in my day, we used to read Wikipedia.
Okay.
No ChatGPT. So yes, the central science, because it connects different sciences. So I figured this is a chance to kind of have knowledge that can branch into other areas, other fields.
Okay.
And then it also gave me the option of choosing the electives that I wanted. And then when I got my, after getting my degree, then I moved on to a different field, which is, the degree says medicinal plant sciences, but the another name they use is phytomedicine. It's just medicine from plants.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of chemistry there. There's a lot of other fields, because you have to find the medicine in the plants, test it, make sure it works, but it's all molecular biology.
Okay.
That means all in the lab. We don't work on people, on patients.
It's just all in the lab. Okay.
Yes.
So I think today we're going to have an interesting conversation because everybody I've interviewed is into sociology. So we work with theory, but you guys work with living things. Like, you see, like the things that we learned in high school were photosynthesis. There are people who actually make sure that it happens, who study the whole thing, the process, apply, experiment, and all of that. So we're going to hear all about that. So we're going to start off with some icebreakers. Yeah? Getting to know you a little bit. If your research plant had a personality, would it be healing, dramatic, toxic, or misunderstood?
It's an interesting choice of words. I would say, I'm tempted to say healing.
Okay.
Because I want to say that I'm here to help humanity. But most of the times I feel I'm misunderstood. So,
Okay, so misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah.
I love the honesty there because we're all always prone to say healing because we want to change the world, we want to save the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one, if your master's thesis was a herbal remedy, what would it cure?
Okay, that's a tough question because I think it would cure anxiety.
Okay.
Because I think there were moments where things did not seem to be going well, but eventually things kind of just clicked. So anxiety.
Oh, that's a perfect one. So much depth. Okay. And then if your medicinal plant could talk, what would it say about how you treated it in the lab?
Okay, so to be clear, I didn't work with a particular plant.
Okay.
I worked with bacteria.
Okay.
Yes.
What would the bacteria say? How did you treat it?
I did not treat them well. They will not be happy.
Why? Why didn't you treat them well?
Because part of that was actually part of the experiment, the experimental design, is I had to put them under pressure, stress them, see what the stress does to them, and then kill them in a very excruciating way. Because I had to crack them open and take out what was inside them and see what it was.
Okay. Yes. All right. Okay. And then if your research journey had a warning label, what would it say?
Do not touch. Stay back.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Last one. What is one of the worst but life-changing comment you've received from your supervisor?
My supervisor told me, you write very well. You write so articulately and very thoughtfully. I said, wow, Prof, thanks. That's quite the compliment. He's like, no, it's not a good thing in science. You're not supposed to write thoughtfully and, all, like intricately. You're supposed to be precise and say exactly what you did and exactly what happened. And that has really shaped the way I view myself and my writing. And
so are you much more on the poetic side? Are you like, you're just gonna paint a beautiful picture before you land the point?
Yes, I'd say I'm probably more inclined to the artistic side. Okay. Although I'm also very critical and analytical. Okay. So I'm kind of like a mix of both. That's why I said my plant would be misunderstood.
Okay, it makes sense.
It's a weird kind of mix.
Okay, all right. So now we're gonna go into it, right? So you get done with your undergrad. What leads you to go do your honors, and what was your honors year experience like, and also what led you to? Because so I want you to take us through how research works with you guys, like postgrad. So like you said, you have to be in the lab. You have to actually experiment with living things. Yes. Yet we just read things and, we just sometimes regurgitate what has been said. But with you guys, you have to apply certain formulas, see if they work, see if they don't. So what is the process like, and how do you determine what bacteria or plant or whatever it is that you have to work on in your honors year? And please do also clarify if you carry the same bacteria into your master's and your doctorate. How does it work?
So much like the way your research, I imagine, I think you studied law, right?
Yes.
And generally just research in general tends to be flexible. Okay. In the sense that you come up with a topic, or your supervisor can suggest a topic, and then you still have to decide if you're willing to go with it. Okay. So for me, I did my bachelor's in chemistry. Okay. And I was supposed to continue with my honors in chemistry because that's what everyone basically did. Okay. However, I didn't get the necessary marks to continue with chemistry. However, I had taken some electives.
Can I just linger there, right? You raise a very important question or theme, because I think it's something that I had completely forgotten about. What is the requirement of you to be able to go into your honors and master's year? Because I think everyone now wants a master's degree, but are they aware of the requirements or the marks that are required for you to proceed?
Yes, of course. I think it was in my time, which I still won't tell you when.
I'm gonna find you.
Well, I mean, at least then it was I think it was 60% average for your chemistry modules. Okay. So there were 4 chemistry modules, and the collective average was supposed to be 60%. Okay. For you to be accepted. Okay. I was on 58 point.
What? That was too close.
9 something. Yeah. They were like...
So you couldn't beg like, oh, please, guys, like, I'll work for this 2%.
I mean, they were like, well, I could try. But the process kind of took a while because they said, look, one of the modules was a sub, so that can also... Actually, it was a dean's exam. Okay. So I literally just skirted under the line, like, Yeah. But they said, technically, you did get more than that in your dean's exam. You didn't get, so we can include the whole thing, but then there's a minimal 50% you can only get in a dean's exam, and you only get a dean's exam if you've passed all your modules, and there's just one module that's holding you back. Okay. So yeah, so after that, I got when I got the grades and everything, I was supposed to go through a process. But at that time, I'd already been accepted for my second option.
Okay.
And also I'd met with that supervisor, and he seemed very much more open to discussing, and giving me a bit of freedom to decide what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So it's different for some of the people I studied medicinal plant sciences with. Some of them went in, they said I want to do my honors, and the supervisor gave them a project because they had a broader a list of things they were researching. For me, I went and explained to my supervisor. He was quite intrigued actually, and he said, yes, I explained I want to do antibiotic resistance.
Okay.
And he was.
But what led you to antibiotic resistance?
Because it's a very serious problem. It's a big threat to public health, and it's one of those things that we don't fully realize just what a big threat it was. I mean, we think COVID was bad, but when you have bacterial infections that cannot be treated, and the infections tend to be very aggressive as well. So I figured, I've got chemistry, I've got biochemistry, I've got microbiology, and a supervisor who's willing to give me that chance, so I could find the cure to this,
Okay.
So that's what led me to that. The honors year was the coursework. We had courses we had to take, a lot of pharmacology-based modules, because the medicinal part means not medicinal, meaning we work with what medicine is, the structure, how it works. So that was very difficult. I think my honors year was the most challenging year probably of my life. Because,
really?
Yes, we had a handful of modules. We had a very short time to do them. And on top of that, we also had to prepare a seminar and also our main project.
Okay.
That main project is now what I did that became my master's project.
Okay.
Yes. So I just worked through the modules, balancing that with my lab work. It was a disaster, actually, because some of the stuff didn't work in the beginning and time was running. But in the end, the things happened and I was able to finish in time.
And so with your honors year, right, you had these modules that you had, and then you also had this project. So the project is the part where you work with the bacteria. So what happens, like you said, there were times where it wasn't working. What happens if it doesn't work at all, or if the bacteria dies or something? Like, what happens?
Well, we always pray that it doesn't happen. It never happens. Because you're looking at a crucial part of your honors.
Yeah.
I think it was, I can't remember the number of credits it was, but it was almost 60% or something, somewhere there. So if you don't get those credits, then you have to repeat a whole year.
Shucks.
Yes. But sometimes you can, I had some people, some friends and, classmates who were supposed to find something. They didn't quite find it, but they were able to at least exhaust that whole experiment. Like if you were supposed to find, say, this plant has been known to treat, say, HIV.
Okay.
And then you're supposed to find that connection. And then you spend that 1 year doing those experiments and you don't get the results you were hoping for. You can still publish that, or at least you can still present that.
Okay.
Because we don't usually publish our honors. And you can say, I tested this, I tested this, I tested this, and I didn't find this result. So that does contribute to the body of knowledge, because it shows these methods do not give you the answer. So you can still work with that.
Okay, so they're not too strict to say it's this way or the highway, as long as you have something to work with or some contribution.
No, they're actually very strict.
Really?
No, because they have to check okay, so you're telling us it didn't work. What did you try? Why didn't it work? You need to be very specific, because it's not guesswork, It's not it didn't work. You have to explain why it did not work. So they're very particular on that. If anything, you're under more scrutiny if your experiments didn't work, because you have to be able to show something, that you were able to get something out of it that contributes to the body of research.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then after the excruciating time of your honors, you decided to do a master's. Why? You could have just left it at honors level and said, you know what, let me move on with my life.
I could have, but the honors project actually went well. Like I told you, there was a time it wasn't working at all. So, okay, just to explain what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Because I know that's, I don't want to keep that in the dark. There might be also science people who might be curious. So I was looking at bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. And I realized that, or at least all the literature showed, bacteria can start off responding to antibiotics. And then eventually they become resistant.
Okay.
So what my goal was to start with a bacteria that was, that could die or could respond to antibiotics. Let me say respond to antibiotics. And then make it resistant.
Okay.
Push it to stop responding.
Okay.
And then now I'll have the two cultures, because with bacteria you have a specific culture that you grow. You keep it on a petri dish. You've seen that like in the movies and
yes.
what is it called? CSI and all this.
Yeah.
So once I have these two, the goal was then, because that's microbiology, I wanted to use all my skills. I was going to use my chemistry now to analyze, to take out what is inside the bacteria, the cracking, killing part, and then run this under different tests and then chemical, analyses. So the specific focus I did and what my supervisor specialized in was metabolomics.
Okay.
So when you see the omics suffix, that just means the entirety of something. So metabolites, entirety of metabolites. So I was going to look at the metabolites and see, is there a difference between this bacteria before
and
it became resistant and then after it became resistant? And then from that, we can now try and connect and see what are the mechanisms behind this process. So that's what I did. At first, I didn't know how to make it resistant.
Okay.
In the end, I just left it in the same place, in the same jar for like 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, and it suffered. It was hungry. It was complaining. And that stress made it resistant. Because when I tested it after the 3 months, I was trying other things. You have to try different things. So I was trying other experiments which didn't work. And then when I came back to this one that I'd forgotten, I realized, oh, okay, something was happening here.
Yeah.
And so it was resistant. And then after that, we took this, like we did this, the metabolomic study that I mentioned, looked at all the metabolites. We put it into a tool, which we call it a multivariate analysis. Okay. But that just means it looks at multiple variables. It looks at many different things, thousands of different things. Okay. And then it tries to create a picture between all of them and to see how closely related are they. So this analysis showed the two of them, the two bacteria, despite being the same culture previously, except the one had gone through all that stress, had now become like chemically and biologically different. Okay. So there was a measurable difference between the two strains. Okay. That was a big thing. Okay. And I was telling my supervisor, let's see what the thing is like. No, this is big enough for honors. You show that there's a difference. Initially it was the same thing and now it's different. That's a huge thing. Okay. And
so basically you're telling us that stress does produce good results in some instances.
Yes, of course, definitely, yes. Okay. And that was the key to my honors. And so the reason I carried on with masters is because my supervisor encouraged me to take that and then continue into masters.
Okay. Did you have the same supervisor?
Yes.
And how was your relationship with your supervisor? Did you choose your supervisor? Yes. Okay, tell us more about that, your relationship, how you nurtured it, and the consistency of communication and how they supported you.
So my supervisor had been at the university for a long time. Okay. And many years. So he was he had been in that department as well for a while and was actually nearing retirement at that time when I spoke to him, which is what he told me. He told me that he's about to retire.
And weren't you scared that they're going to retire mid your project and what's going to happen to you?
Well, he said he'll be there for the honors year. That was the 1 year. So I was like, okay, we can do that. And then for the master's year, he said he's going to retire again. And then one of my other classmates, when we had the same supervisor, told me, he said the same thing 3 years back. So
you're safe.
Don't. I mean, if he tells you that he's still willing to work with you through this year or next year or anything like that, even if it did happen that he did retire, we could still have found a way to keep working, because a lot of times with a lot of professors and people who've been in a certain field for a long time, even after they retire, they'll still keep they're still active. They still have their office. They might still be
assist
involved.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I wasn't too concerned about that.
Okay.
But yeah, you asked about the relationship part. Well, it was actually a very good relationship that we had, which I later learned is not common.
It's actually not. Like, I've been reading the comments. Like, I posted a video and I'm like, what's the worst thing your supervisor had said to you? People were just crashing out there and saying supervisors are mean. If you're a supervisor and you're watching this, you need to do better. But sometimes you actually get to understand where they come from. Because I don't know, but I feel like when you do your postgrad studies when you're younger, a lot of the times you take things very personal. Like you personalize it and you think maybe the person is attacking you or anything like that. But usually they're just speaking to your work, and maybe in that moment your work is nonsense and it is what it is. And unfortunately, we take it and think they're saying we are nonsense. And they're not saying that. They're just saying your work, you could do better, you could improve. So if a person, how did you foster a good relationship with your supervisor? And also, since you chose him, what were the elements that made you say he is the one compared to everybody else?
Well, I liked the fact that he had a background in chemistry.
Okay.
So he started off in chemistry and then eventually he went into plant sciences.
Okay.
So he had, at least I felt we had some kinship because we both came from the same field. Also, well, the reason I went to him specifically was chemistry for starters. But later on, because first of all, I had to approach him. We discussed the project and then I sent some proposals, some very badly written proposals. And he was very supportive. He was like, yeah, I think we can try this. Okay, this might not work, but we can definitely do this.
Okay.
So just for that, I think I just was just to roll the dice and I happened to find someone who was supportive and understanding. And then in general, during the research process, he also gave us a lot of like autonomy in the sense that he wasn't like, you need to give me exactly what you're doing, only do what I've approved. He was like, look, if you have an idea, if you think something might work, you're welcome to spend a bit more time in the lab, try it out and see what works, and it's that sort of flexibility as well. I think that also helped a lot. And I think generally he was more like, he was very like attentive.
Okay.
And he was also passionate about the work. I think that's probably the biggest thing, was that he was very passionate. He spent more time talking about his own research, which is understandable. I mean,
all of us, when we love what we do, like you just keep talking about your thing.
Yes, yes. And I think that passion also came into the work he did, because when you did explain or showed, we also had group meetings with some of his other students together, and we're all very close friends. And so there was a good community we had there.
That's nice.
And that was quite helpful as well, because we got to roast each other instead. He didn't do as much of the roasting. We kind of scrutinized each other.
Yeah. Okay, no, love that. And then how frequent were you engaging him? And then also in terms of your bacteria, do you keep it with you at home and then you keep assessing, or you keep it somewhere on campus or at a specific place?
You leave everything in the lab. You don't take anything back home with you.
Okay.
It was potentially a biohazard. I didn't want to start the next pandemic. So you have to leave everything in the lab. Everything you're working on. You don't take anything home except your writing.
Okay.
Yes.
So how frequent did you guys have to check on the bacteria? Is it like every day, every week, 90 days, 6 months? How does it work?
Okay. So with the bacteria that I had, I would culture it and then I would keep it in the we had a fridge, a walk-in fridge. So when you keep it in the fridge, it's kind of like a pause in a way, because it slows down.
Okay.
And then when you take it out, you can continue what you're doing. So I had like hundreds of Petri dishes that I would grow and I would culture and I would label them. And every time I noticed something different by one strain, because bear in mind, the bacteria kept going through different changes. When I noticed something different, I would keep that one aside. And we also had like a regular fridge. So the bacteria was like, it was everywhere, basically, like in different fridges. And one of the main things actually I discovered and, published in my master's was this pigment, this color that the bacteria produced. That's because I left my Petri dishes on the counter and they turned orange. And I was like, what's this color?
So the environment mattered as well, where you live it. Okay.
Yes. So the idea is, yes, you kind of just left them everywhere. But I mean, that's not the way it was supposed to be, by the way.
You were just being curious and experimenting.
Yes. No, I did. I left them in different places because I wanted to see what different pressures would do to the bacteria.
Okay.
Yes. Also, I'm not a microbiologist in that sense. So a lot of it was trial and error, a lot of error, but a lot of trial as well.
And how was your master's journey? Did you enjoy it?
My master's was during COVID.
Okay.
Which means our lab times were erratic.
Okay.
We would go into the lab, we'd start, and the next thing, Cyril calls a family meeting and...
And then you must just leave everything where it is and rush to the meeting.
Exactly. You kind of no, I mean like lockdown, that's what I meant. Mm-hmm. And suddenly once I was out of the lab for like, what is it, 2 months or 3 months, something like that, which was a lot.
So didn't it impact your results? Because you're out there, you're not seeing what's going on and you can't take it home.
Yes, it did. It set me back a few months, maybe 6 months or so, because a lot of the bacteria that I had gone through changes, which I wasn't able to track. So I had to restart some of the experiments. And it wasn't just the bacteria as well, because I was studying the metabolites, what was inside the bacteria. So that means I also had a lot of vials with what I'd gotten from the bacteria, which I also used to store in, different places. So when you're doing a master's in science or an honors, you have a lot of samples.
Okay.
And especially in plant sciences, they had a lot of plant samples. I didn't work with plants, but I worked with bacteria. Mm-hmm. And you need to have a way of tracking all your samples.
Okay.
Because you have to test all of them and you have to record all the tests. And so a lot of it is just testing, recording, and
Okay, so since you guys work with practicality, so when you write out your research, are there points where you reference other people, or is it like strictly what you're seeing? Do you need to support what you're seeing or what you're experimenting with somebody else's work who has done something similar previously? Okay.
We have lit reviews as well.
Really?
We follow
I
the
thought
same...
you just go into the lab and you're like, you know what? I'm saying this and this must go. Okay. You also have literature reviews and stuff.
Yes, you have to, because otherwise, what are you doing? If you have no idea what is being done out there, what has been done. Okay. So we publish there's a lot of published research out there, and before you start, you need to do a literature review. You need to write down what has been done in this field. Why are you doing this? How does this contribute to the field? How does this contribute to, depending on what goals you're looking at, whether it's sustainable development, whether it's climate change, whether it's finding a cure towards a certain disease or pathogen, you need to be able to situate your research with what's already been done. Okay. And during the honors year, we didn't just have the practical in the lab. We also had a module where you had to prepare a full seminar, just literature review, no experimental work.
Nothing, just literature review.
Yes, you just look at what's been written in a specific topic, and that's all you research or you read, and you then present a seminar on that. Okay, and nice. Yes.
So do you guys also have different methodologies in terms of your research, or you guys follow a strict particular methodology?
We have what is called the scientific method.
Okay. You guys are special, exclusive stuff, and nobody else uses that.
I mean,
as a lawyer, I can't use that.
I mean, it depends. It depends. It's the scientific method. That's usually whenever anyone asks me about science, and people think, well, science is about calculations and knowing a lot of stuff, big brain, Einstein things. You're like, no, it starts with the scientific method. Okay. And that's the process where you're supposed to make an observation in the natural world. And then you, based on what you're observing, you make a hypothesis. Okay. It's like a guess, an educated guess of what you think you're observing. Okay. And then you establish an aim for research that you're going to do to test that hypothesis. And then you set objectives that you hope to achieve towards this aim. So it's observation, hypothesis, aim, objectives, and then you go into the lab. Okay. So before you step into the lab, before they give you any glassware or before you put on your lab coat, you need to first have done a lot of thinking, a lot of reflecting, a lot of observation. And your literature review usually comes first in your dissertation. And then you have your experiment, and after you've got your experimental results, then you go back to your computer, you leave the lab, and you start analyzing your results.
Okay.
And it's a whole process of, with your results, you kind of just look at what you got, what the trends are, what was higher, what was lower. You don't discuss it. You don't be like, I think this is what's happening.
Okay.
You first need to break everything down
Okay.
in the results.
Okay.
And then after the results, your discussion. Then you can share, then you can pour your heart out and say what you think, why this is happening.
Okay.
Of course, based on what other literature has been done.
Okay.
Then you do your conclusion.
Oh, you guys do the tough stuff.
Yes, of course. And of course, your conclusion, you have to then come back and say, my hypothesis was, this is what I thought. Based on what I saw, what I was thinking was not correct, was not accurate.
So you guys can actually say that in your research, to say what I thought was incorrect.
Yes, absolutely.
And
you
then,
have to.
Okay.
You have to show that you are critiquing your hypothesis, because the scientific method is supposed to be a process of critique.
Okay.
You have an idea going in, you critique that idea, and you check. For example, you could be looking at maybe the sky and say you think the sky is blue because maybe someone took a paintbrush, and now you have to determine, if you want to determine if there's a paintbrush up there or something like that, how would you test for that?
Okay.
And how you set up your aims and objectives. And then later you find out, actually, no, it has more to do with the gases in the atmosphere.
Okay.
So I was wrong. You have to admit that.
Okay. On paper.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Okay. No, I hear that. And then how are you funding your studies? Because I think one of the challenges that people face outside of the marks, now that you've gotten your 60% average, because with us in law, I think it may have changed across, it's now 65. For you to get to master's level, you have to get a 65% average. Now you have your 65%. You've paid your registration fee. How were you funding your studies? Was it self-funded? Were there bursaries available to you?
I mean, yes, usually there are bursaries that are available.
Okay.
But the first thing that we often consider is NRF, or the National Research Fund.
Okay.
So they have a list of priority projects, things that they consider priorities.
Okay.
And that they are going to fund
at
the university. So my research topic fell under the priorities.
Okay.
Where these change. And because of that, they did give me like a grant with like a stipend.
Okay.
And it covered my fees as well. So they funded 2 years of my master's study.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. So to a person, because I see also there's a struggle with people trying to choose topics, right?
Yes.
Is it viable for you to go under the NRF and check what's priority there? And then you're like, let me pick this one.
I mean, yes, you definitely, I mean, that's a good way, because it's more likely to guarantee that you will get the grant if you are researching something considered important, a priority. Of course, you'll have to, whatever bed you choose, you'll have to lie in it. So you have to keep that in mind. So, but yes, I think that's a good way to decide what field you like to study, because you might be interested in, studying horses, and then you find that that's not quite a priority. So maybe you might realize, no, there's a bigger priority for maybe like game, or cattle.
Yeah.
And then you find, yes, you can start with that, and later on, once you've finished your master's and all, you can decide if you want to continue with something else.
Okay. And then what was the best thing about your research journey, where you felt like you were at your peak, you were on cloud 9, and you know what, you felt like a superstar?
When I got my results. When I made a hypothesis, I made a claim, or at least I made an observation, and then I collected the samples, and then I ran them through the test, and then the test I was using was like this like analyzer. I don't know if should I use the specific words, or
you can.
So it was we call it GCMS.
Okay.
That's gas chromatography mass spectrometer.
Okay.
And it was connected to a library of all the known like compounds that they had collected. And when I tested my compound, and I looked at that library, I found it there, And I was like, yes.
Yes. Okay.
I got it. So I was actually up onto something this whole time. I actually did the right thing, and I think it was about 3 or 4 months of work was actually worth something.
Nice. So when it comes to submission, how do you guys work? Because I know with us, you do your research and then you submit it, and then goes to examiners, they mark, and then you have to defend. Do you guys have to also defend your work, or how does it work with you guys?
So the master's doesn't have a defense. You only have a defense for PhD.
Okay.
So for master's, it's similar. You write your dissertation, your supervisor assists you, and then once you have completed the whole dissertation, and it's officially, you've completed everything. It's finalized. Your supervisor should tell you that. So you should, they should, if it's not good enough, they won't let you send it.
Your supervisor will not allow you to.
Yes,
okay.
at least they shouldn't.
Okay.
Because it's supposed to go to an internal examiner and external examiner. Internal is usually within your university, someone who knows your department, someone who's within. External is someone in a different country. And you don't know who your examiners are. You're not supposed to know who they are, because you don't want to message them.
Like, hey, call in a favor.
Yeah, exactly. Or anything like that. It's just supposed to remove. I mean, I think it's the same way for any other master's. So, I mean, I think you probably realize that our master's is very similar to...
it's similar, but I just feel like you guys are much more on the tougher side, because I think for you guys, it's easier to actually fail your masters because you're testing things. And if they're not working out and you're not able to justify why they're not working out, you could flunk.
Yes, you could.
Whilst with us, it's not easy to fail. You're failing because you're not probably writing well, or you're not reading enough, or you're not... I think you guys do the tougher work.
It is very difficult, definitely, but fortunately and this is where the supervisors are very important. That's why supervisor is there. They're supposed to tell you what will work, what will not work.
Yeah.
They're supposed to tell you when you get your results, will this actually hold up, or should you start again? Yeah. So once your supervisor has gone through it and they have approved it and they're happy with it, chances are the examiners will also be happy with it.
Okay. And what has been the worst moment of your research journey, inclusive of your honors and masters? I know you said honors was excruciating, but one moment that almost made you give in and be like, you know what, maybe this is not worth it.
I feel like for a long time, I was just consistently thinking, why did I get myself into this? So it was a continuous state of being, of thinking, why did I do this? And it only started changing when my results started looking up. Okay. So also remember, once I started and the NRF gave me that funding, then the goal was I had to finish the masters, because if I didn't finish the masters, I would have to pay back
the money.
Of course, you have to pay back the money, definitely. And that was a concern. So I realized I have to just push through and get through it. So I would say what was difficult was just that whole process of pushing myself, especially during COVID, because sometimes someone would get infected, or there was a suspected case in the building. And suddenly they're like, we have to clear the building. They have to come in and test and disinfect. And so that was a big issue.
So wait, now I'm interested in when they would come in and disinfect, what would happen to your stuff? Would they have to fidget with your things as well?
No.
So your guys' experiments were left alone, locked away.
To be honest, I don't actually know if anyone came in and disinfected, because they would say, no, they'll have to come in and do this. But because I wasn't there, I didn't see anyone come in.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it also depends on who the person... Actually, I can't really comment on that because I was never there. All I know is they would tell us, oh, we had a suspected case of COVID, and so the labs will be off limits for the next week or two.
Okay. And then to a person at home, right, who may be going through the continuous feeling that you were feeling to say this is not working out, this may not work out, what would you say to them? Like, what are some of the things that you know now that you wish you knew then?
Well, what I would say to someone, who was unsure, it depends on whether you've started or whether you haven't started.
Give us both. You've started and you haven't started.
If you haven't started, I would say think very closely. Think very carefully. Think about the romanticized idea of science, finding the cure to cancer, being in a lab coat and mixing stuff. And just know it's not going to be that fun, first of all. Because a lot of experiments will fail. A lot of what you think is going to work will actually fail.
Yeah.
When you read scientific papers, you always think scientists will tell you what they did, but they don't. They'll just tell you, we did this, we got this. You kind of have to figure out the in-between part. So, yes, it's very difficult. You have to first think if you're ready to kind of get caught up in all that. But if you're already inside it, you're sitting on NRF money and you're already in it, then just keep going. That's all I can say. Just bite the leather and keep going, because when you do get to the end and you finish it, then that's probably the greatest feeling in the world, knowing that you started this thing and you finished it. And that's what everyone who's done a master's or PhD in science will tell you is it's not easy, but when you're done with it, you don't want to go back, but you definitely have this feeling of achievement, that no one can ever take away from you. And you feel you've contributed something, even if they don't use your research for anything useful, which is the thing. Sometimes you publish something, it just sits in a repository and gathers dust, but you've done something big.
Yeah.
And no one can deny that. And so if you're going through it, just, like the horses, they have these blinkers that focus forward. Just focus on the goal, keep going. That's all I can say.
All right. Do you ever, have you read your own dissertation?
No.
After? Why?
Because it's kind of cringe. You kind of start thinking, like, what was I thinking when I was writing all this?
I read my master's dissertation and I was just like, no. I'm like, nah. What was going on here? Because, and now it takes me back to the part about supervisors, and I'm not condoning meanness from supervisors. But when I read my master's dissertation, I'm realizing how my supervisor was actually nice. Because now I critique it so much. I'm like, no. You could have phrased that better. You could have thought that better.
Yes, of course.
And all of that.
Of course. You find a lot of typos as well. You're like, wow, how did this get through?
How did I submit this?
Yeah, how did it get through? Honestly.
No, I completely understand. Do you think you would pursue your PhD?
Inevitably, yes.
Okay.
I would. Probably in something different, not in science. I don't think I might, maybe not. But at this point, maybe something else. But I think I probably will eventually.
Okay. And then did you know how sometimes people take their dissertation and break it apart into articles and publish it as articles? Did you also do that, or you just did your thing and left it alone?
I've been considering publishing something on it.
Okay.
That's still a process. But at the moment, I haven't published anything from it.
Okay.
It's just, it's still hard going through a lot of it.
Have you published anything other than that?
At the moment, no, not quite.
Okay. All right. No. Thank you so much for honoring my invite. This was so fun. I enjoyed it so much. I feel like I've studied science. I know a little bit of this and that. Now I can contribute to my science friends. This was fun. Any parting remarks to any person who's doing their research at home that you would like to say to them, encourage them, or a reality that you want them to know?
Just know if you're struggling, most people, if not all people, are struggling. So don't feel alone and don't keep it inside. If you have friends, especially for me, it was friends that got me through. If you have family, talk it out. Don't just suffer in silence. Don't feel like to struggle is to fail. The struggle is actually a sign that you're growing and that you are pushing back, and just keep pushing. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you so much, Martin. I learned so much. To everybody at home, if you have a couple of questions, leave them in the comment section and maybe I'll pass them on. If he has capacity, he'll probably answer. And all the best with your research. If you have your proposal due, make sure that you pick up that pen and paper or you pick up that laptop and start typing. If you've got your concept note due, make sure that you submit it. Guys, don't forget you have to read. I think the biggest component about research, because I was misinformed. I thought with science, there isn't a lot of reading, but it appears that everybody got to read. If you want to do any postgraduate studies, read. Every day in a bus, read. In a taxi, read. Stuck in traffic, read. At the gym, read. Just read. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. See you soon.